Hi guys, it's Angela one more time. 3 videos in one day. Amazing. I know. I want to take a few minutes with this final video today to talk about psychologically what I've been going through as far as having lost weight quickly since having gastric bypass surgery. Just a little bit of background. The reason why I had gastric bypass and not any of the other options out there as far as weight loss surgery is because I have 3 hormonal disorders. I have a condition called adult onset congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which probably actually started when I was like 3 years old, but I wasn't diagnosed until I was about 32, 33 years old, when I was under the care of a pituitary specialist in Chicago. In Texas, about 3 years prior to that, I was diagnosed with pituitary tumor disorder and polycystic ovarian syndrome, which actually, if you look at everything that I've got, the most significant is the hyperplasia. I was born with that. Basically, it's a congenital condition that really didn't come to fruition until I hit 3 years old. And why they call it adult onset is it's basically a term that they give for anyone who ends up having this condition after birth. Now, it's a good thing that I end up having this condition after birth versus born with it, because most babies born with congenital adrenal hyperplasia die of salt wasting. So if there's a good thing about all this is that I don't have that one. But I did get this, or it did come to pass that I developed symptoms of it at the age of 3. And so they consider anything after birth to be adult onset, even though I was 3 years old, because that's when the symptoms started. So anyway, I do have hormonal conditions, and because of those hormonal conditions, I couldn't just have a restrictive type of surgery, because my problem wasn't just the amount of food I was eating. Although that's, for anybody who has a weight problem, you do need to not eat as much, and that can be hard, especially if you're hungry, and that's an issue. But the reason why I had RNY gastric bypass is that they had done actually a lot of research over the last 10 years especially on people who have hormonal conditions, specifically polycystic ovarian syndrome. And there's research out there specifically for those who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and they had good results. And what it does is that when you disconnect the majority of the stomach, the stomach produces a hormone called ghrelin, and it impacts hunger, and it impacts the amount of leptin that your hypothalamus produces. I think it's hypothalamus. Sorry, I'm getting confused with the pituitary at this point in time. But anyway, it impacts the amount of leptin that you produce. Leptin causes satisfaction after you eat, and it makes you feel satisfied. And if you're not producing enough leptin, you're not going to have that feeling of fullness. Ghrelin is the opposite. It makes you feel hungry, and when you start eating, it stops secreting and impacts the production of leptin. So anyway, it's all connected with insulin levels and other hormones that your body produces. My body also produces an excess of prolactin and an excess of cortisol. So the reason why I had RNY gastric bypass is that it basically disconnects the majority of the stomach, and the stomach isn't able, it does still produce ghrelin, but not at the amount that you have if it was still connected to the rest of your GI tract. Now, my stomach and my intestine, the duodenum part of my GI tract, is still inside me. It's just been kind of disconnected and reconnected differently. So if you need to know what that's all about, Google it and you'll figure it out. But for me, it basically shut down the hormone center and impacted the levels of hormones that are going on in my body. My doctor basically called it a reset. that by having this surgery, it pressed the reset button on my metabolism and the production of hormones in my body. So not only do I have the advantage of getting full very, very quickly after I eat, which to be honest with you is fabulous, I also experienced immediately, like literally the day after I had surgery, my body felt differently. And it wasn't because I was not eating food. It was because of the hormone impact, and which was very significant in my body. And even though I didn't have, some people have diabetes, I'm sure that they would experience some sort of impact in their body. But I really experienced a change in my body after I had surgery. Psychologically, after going through this now for the last 9.5 months, and honestly, the first 6 weeks after surgery is kind of a blur, because you're dealing with recovery after the surgery and the fact that you can't eat anything really. You're drinking protein shakes, and it takes you an hour and a half to drink an 8-ounce protein drink. It does get better for those of you who are looking into weight loss surgery. It's not going to be like that forever. And yes, you are going to be able to eat and drink more. For me, the bonus was just being able to drink more and more quickly, because that was the biggest pain in the butt ever, is spending 2 hours trying to drink a 8-ounce protein shake. Ridiculous. But it does get better. So the first 6 weeks to me were a blur, and were difficult and life-changing. After that, life kind of got normal, and I kind of got used to everything. And yes, it was a lot of life change, but it was more getting back to normal, trying to figuring out what my new normal was. Well, now, 9 months later, it is normal. The fact that I don't eat very much, and I have 4 to 5 small meals a day, very small meals. We're talking a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup at a given meal time, or usually now it's between about 150 calories to 250 calories, depending on what I'm eating. And some days I eat more, and some days I eat less. I would say my average calorie intake right now is between 800 calories and 1,000 calories a day. That may seem like a lot for some people who may be at this point in time. My body is still losing. When I'm not plateauing, I'm losing still about 1.5 to 2 pounds a week, which is great. You don't want to mess with it too much. If you're eating, 1,600 calories at this point in time, I would probably talk to your doctor. It's probably too much to be eating. There are some people who are at the point that I am and still only eating 600 calories. To me, you need to be eating more than that, and I don't just subsist on protein shakes. Now, if I was just drinking protein shakes, I'd probably be only eating 600 to 700 calories a day. But my doctor really just encouraged eating real food, because this is real life, and you don't want to be eating protein shakes for the rest of your life. You really don't. And I really got sick of protein shakes after a while. I do have usually 1 protein shake a day at least, sometimes 2, and sometimes a protein bar and a protein shake. Psychologically, 9 months later, after losing 95 pounds, since the day I came home from surgery, 113 pounds total from my highest weight. In 9.5 months, it really hasn't registered. And I think I might have mentioned in some of my earlier emails prior to surgery, or just shortly after surgery, what I might feel like at this point in time. I don't think you can really figure that out until you're here. Yes, I see myself getting smaller sometimes, but in my head, to be honest with you, when I look in the mirror, I don't see any difference, really. I mean, yeah, I can see a little bit in my face, and yeah, I can see a little bit in my body, but my mind hasn't made the leap yet. Yes, I'm in a size 14 jeans, and I was a size 24W. That's really significant. Anybody who's done that, you know that's significant. And I see my legs are smaller, but it still doesn't register that I've lost this much weight. It just doesn't, it's kind of overwhelming. Have I had people, you know, look at me differently, act differently toward me? Yes. There are people now who have no idea that I've had a really significant weight problem. Now, they might still consider me chunky, but they don't consider me, you know, obese. And that's really different because people don't treat you the same. And that has become the biggest eye-opener for me, that I did experience a lot of, not only did I experience shame for being morbidly obese, but people did treat me differently. And some people are saying people didn't really treat you differently. You just thought you just make that up in your head, and you have a different perception of yourself when you're 100, pounds overweight. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. People do treat you differently. And people who even knew or know that I was that overweight treat me differently. My husband treats me differently. And to go into that is a little bit difficult because a lot of it is really subtle. My husband is actually jealous in some ways, but that's kind of interesting too. That's a different dynamic that I didn't really know how to deal with at first, and now I just have to realize that he's got to deal with his issues, and I just need to keep doing what I'm doing and being happy for where I've come from and where I'm going. So as far as where I think things will end up and how I'll think about myself 6 months from now, I'm really absolutely convinced that this is a journey. I'm going to be different a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 10 years from now than what I am right now. The journey continues and it's evolving, and how I'm going to see myself 6 months from now hopefully will be better than I even see myself now. Do I see myself differently now? Yes and no. And I'm really proud of the changes that I've made. I'm proud that I had the surgery. I'm very, very happy of things that have happened since I had the surgery. And I'm 100% for people who want to take a step to make themselves healthy by having bariatric surgery. I don't know that I would have said that even 5 years ago. I am absolutely a supporter of bariatric surgery now, and I will plan on continuing to advocate for people who want to make that choice in the future. My son's getting upset, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but I do want to let you know that I do plan to make more videos, but I don't know when. And so just be patient with me, and hopefully I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.